So our newest consultant, Mr. Angel Jacome, who just returned from the Kentucky Derby. How many derbies you been to?
I think this is number 6.
Number six. So this is a tradition. You and your brother and a big entourage go, or
Yeah, the entourage keeps getting bigger. Brandon and Colleen were with us this time.
Mhm.
We'll try to get more people next year.
You dress all fancy and you
It's
look
so
the
much
part.
fun. It's so much fun. It's just, I mean, we've done all sorts of stuff, right? Like Super Bowls and World Series and all that stuff. But to me, the Derby it takes the cake. It's the most fun.
Well, I know it's got the reputation of, I think it's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports is what they call
Hmm.
the Kentucky Derby.
Hmm.
But yet, like on TV, it's on for hours, right? So there's not a lot going on.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so what's it like in the crowd? I mean, there's not a lot
Well,
on TV. What are you
there's-
doing?
So what happens is there's 2 days. The first day is called the Oaks, where it's like all female horses, so everybody wears pink. And then the second day is the actual Derby, but the Derby is race number 12. And the previous day, the Oaks is race number 11 or 13. So you have 14 races. They're between 30 to 40 minutes in between. So you pick your horses, you go to the window, place your bets, come back, get a mint julep, talk some shit with whoever you're hanging out with. The horses go in front of you, they do the 5 minute to post. You see the horses getting on, and then you just watch them rooting for your horses. They finish, you're like, fuck, I lost again, or hooray, I won. And then you take you program out, you look at the next horses, and you're like, fuck, I got a feeling about this one. And then you get everybody together, go back to the ticket window, do it again, talk shit, get some food. So it's just like a very well pace of you're not having to be focused for 2.5 hours like a basketball game or a football game. You still have the excitement, you have the fun, you can socialize, and you're drinking and you're dressed up. So it's pretty cool. I really like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Obviously, if you've been 6 times, that's you like going to Kentucky
I
to
think
enjoy
that's
that.
the thing. Every year I usually go and I luckily hit something that pays for the entire trip. Not this time. I'm not using the same strategy next year for sure.
Well, you're an OC now, so now it's like, oh, okay, let me throw some of this override money here on these horses.
I
So,
did. I definitely.
so obviously, I mean, what's fresh on everybody's mind, what's certainly fresh on my mind. I mean, Keys was a terrific event for many, many reasons. Um, but I think you were kind of the cherry on top. And I'm just kind of reflecting on, how your brother introduced you on stage, and then you got on stage, and then I saw your mom. I was sitting close to your table there, and I'm like, my first thought is like, man, your mom must be so proud. Like, talk about the American dream that here's this family leaving Venezuela to come to America. And obviously, you've got high hopes coming to the US, but you guys surpassed, I'm sure, her high hopes. That both of her boys have become very successful in business. Just kind of walk us through that a little bit of like you're a child in Venezuela. How old were you? Like what was going on? And really, how is it that both the brothers ended up becoming successful in business?
Yeah, it's a good question. I moved here when I was 15. Jesus was 17. Um, I was a sophomore in high school. He had already finished high school. And so he did like a semester of college, maybe two. Um, I did high school, didn't know the language, so obviously had to learn it. I went to Kennesaw State University. When Yeah, a lot of struggles. I've had a million jobs, but when I was a sophomore, um, I started a little business with a couple of buddies. I ended up making a lot of dough. Like when I was 19, I think we made close to $500,000 when I was 19, and Jesus had already started a family. He was working for my uncle who has a painting company, and and they weren't getting along too well. And Jesus hit me up and he goes, "Hey man, we're brothers. We're supposed to, do business together. We're meant to do business together." And I'm like, "All right, what do you have in mind?" And he said, "I want to start a painting company." I'm like, "But you work with a painting company, which is my uncle's." He was like, "Yeah, but it's my uncle's. I don't want to work with him. I want you and I to do it." And I was like, "All right, well, first of all, I don't know shit about painting, right?" And it's like, "Don't worry about it. I do." I was like, "So what do you need me for?" And obviously I was making good money at the time. So it was like, the money. So we started a painting company and we did really, really well. Um, I had the business that I had, then I had the painting company with Jesus, and then I ventured into something else, which was like with concert related. And I really thought I was gonna be the next, like uh Mark Cuban, right? Started, I was like, oh, if this is how I am at 19, 20, I'm like, holy shit. Um, but that was right in 2008. And then when the recession, hit, we had probably like 7 jobs, 7 contracts that we had already fulfilled. But we were working with builders that, had a good reputation with us, they'd done well for us. And one of them just declared Chapter 7 and, owed us all that money. And then it was like a domino effect that fell through. Then the other business fell through. I got scammed a bunch of money with one of the concerts. And so it's just like 2008, 2009, it just like we went from rags to doing well to, doing shitty again. And my brother got divorced and we're like staying at my mom's house. I'm not even going to college at this point because I took a break because I thought I was going to be Mark Zuckerberg, right? I was a sophomore in college at that point. And couldn't find a job to save my life. Like it was crazy. I don't know if any of you guys, were in the workforce, at that point. But a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people lost their homes. And I mean, I remember walking into restaurants. I remember going to an AT&T store. I remember just like, hey man, like anything, Walgreens, like, yo, I'll mop, I'll do whatever. Like, I just need to, you can find jobs. Um, so one day my dad, which, we'd been going through some ups and downs at that point. He just hit us up and he was like, hey man, I know you guys, just, went through a pretty cool high. But if there's anything that I've taught you boys is to be humble and, humility is one of the things that I've always preached, which is true. And he said, I don't have much, but I can get you a job driving a taxi. And I was like, well, I don't give a shit. Let me, so I shadowed my dad one day. And then the next day he talked to the owner of the cab company and he let me and Jesus start driving the cab. So we started driving at night because it was before Uber or Lyft or any of these things existed. And it was just a little bit more money because there's less competition, right? It's a little bit more dangerous. Like the month that we joined the cab company, a taxi driver had just gotten shot in the head. So obviously it was like, a little risky, but we were like, all right, the brothers were like, hey, where you picking up at? Where you dropping off at? So we always knew kind of, if you feel some, smells weird, fuck that guy, keep driving, like it was like that. And then Jesus started working with Adam. And he worked with him for a while. He even moved with an expansion crew to Milwaukee. And I stayed, doing my cap thing. I went back to college. And when I was uh, about to graduate, I think I had one semester to go, he called me up again and he goes, Angel, same conversation. We're brothers, right? We're supposed to be together. We're supposed to do business together. And I was like, I've seen this movie before, but fuck it, what you got? And he brought me in, and honestly, I didn't know anything about the business. I didn't really think about it much. He told me I could get some internship credit, and that I would be helping him out. And he had 2 kids at that point, so I'm like, you know what? I'm already about to get my degree. I like to think of myself as a pretty sharp cookie. I'm gonna be okay. I don't have kids. I'm single. I'm like, he needs the help. So honestly, for the first couple of years of me doing this, the priority was just to help him get somewhere. Like just let him be good, take care of his family, take care of which is my family, right? Take care of the kids. You know, he got married again, he had a third kid. So I really, as far as like commitment to this, it was really just to him. Like I just wanted to get him um to a good place. And every time that I felt like he was there, and I was like, okay, this is where I go, like the what's it called? The Fast and Furious movie where they drive there. I'm like, this is where, I leave you, right? Then some shit would happen, and I'm like, all right, he needs me, right? And then just the love, and I started to realize that I can be good at this, and if I put my effort into it, I can be better than the most, right? When I looked around and I saw what I could do running an office and stuff. And so since then, it's just been, him and I, however we help each other, and mom and my sister, and we've helped a lot of them out because of this. So I'm definitely very blessed because of it. But that's kind of like how we started, and how we ended up, here.
So part two of the movie was a better chapter, huh? Better movie. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
we're supposed to
yeah.
work together, and this one worked out.
This one worked out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and then we got some good lessons from it. We really did. I think one of the things that I'm known for, at least in our org, is just financial discipline, financial literacy, money management. It's like a thing that everybody calls me about. They want me to run calls for and stuff. And it was partly because I said to myself, the next time that I make money, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna make the same mistakes that I did when I had the first companies. And when I started making money here, what do you think happened? Wrong. I made the same mistake again. And then I was like, wait, I promised myself I wasn't gonna do it. So it took me like the third time. I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. And that's what really kind of worked out for the second chapter for me and Jesus here. A lot of the financial discipline. And he took that up. Took a couple of years for him to kind of get it, but he followed suit.
Hmm. When you say financial discipline, just the financial discipline to say no to the desires.
Well, just I mean, yes, that's a piece of it, right? But I figured out how to make my office and others operate on a shorter term instead of waiting for a quarterly review or a yearly review like we most times do. I made it so that it's weekly. So what I teach the guys, maybe if anybody's interested. Now first I did too much. It was like 30 grand. I was like, no, no, no. So I brought that down to 10 because usually an expansion crew opens up between 10 to 15,000, right? Some more, some less. But I said, I'm gonna leave in my bank account $10,000. Okay. So on Friday, when my wire comes in, right? Like let's say the wire came in this week. It was 23,000. And then payroll goes out. It was 15 something. Okay, so there's an extra seven. Then you got expenses and whatever. On Monday, whatever is over that $10,000 balance, because payroll's gonna go out and expenses, I send that to a savings account that I don't even look at. And I start over again with 10,000. Now, if it was the opposite and my payroll was 15 and I ended up with a $13,000 wire, now on Monday, I have a $2,000 deficit. My net worth went down 20%. And I don't, what happens is that before, if you have money in the bank, you live one bad week, you're like, fuck it, I got 100 grand or 200 grand or 50 grand, whatever it is, 50 grand in the bank. It doesn't really feel that much painful. Then I just lost 20% of my net worth, right? So it makes you, I realize that it makes you take action a lot faster when you play. It's kind of like the NFL, right? Like it's like you play weekly, right? Did we win this week? Good. Throw that out there. Did we lose? Fuck, we gotta rearrange. We gotta reconfigure. We gotta reassess. We gotta figure something out. And that's kind of like what I've taught people that, there's a lot more to it, but that's kind of like the basis of it. It's like get connected, stay connected, and that way you don't kick your feet up or you don't lose sight of it's a weekly thing, right? Like we gotta run a good business every week, regardless of overrides or consultant bonuses or consultant overrides, PO bonuses, any of that shit. So that's really what kind of like did it for, and it worked wonders. Like most of my guys, like even they didn't even have to be a guy doing, $20,000, $30,000 wires. Like they all end up saving a lot. I have a guy who just got his office space. He's got $100,000 in his bank account here in Greenville, South Carolina. Took him a while to get there's a lot of fuckery, this and that. But with his crew, right, I'm like, yo, here's how you do it. And it's crazy.
Mm.
A lot of the guys have built up their savings account because of it.
Yeah, just a quick sidebar, just to fry a few people's minds, and you can stew on this a little bit, and I'll get back to Angel. I call you Angel. It's weird. Your brother calls you Angel, and I call you Angel. But
That's true.
I'll get back into that one in a second. But it's interesting shifting from a consumer mindset to an investor mindset. So there's some data out there that says, okay, let's just say you're an Apple junkie. I am an Apple junkie. I love the new iPhones. Can't wait till, September rolls around, the iPhone 16 will roll around, right? But if you were to buy every new iPhone since its inception, you would have spent around 20 some $1,000s, let's say, in hardware. Okay, everybody can comprehend. Yeah, that sounds about right. Every year there's a new phone. So let's say you were that guy. But if you would have invested that same amount of money in Apple stock at the time, so if
Yeah.
you went from a consumer brain to an investor brain, the value of that portfolio, if you did that, you would have approximately $220 million. I mean, if that doesn't kind of blow your mind away a little bit, like, what?
Mhm.
If I just went from being a consumer to an investor, if I just kind of shifted my brain, but to Angel's point, when you're disciplined and you're throwing that money and like I'm pretending I don't even have it, that's that kind of mindset that it takes to really become wealthy. So I'd love to hear that, Angel. So let me get back to, why does your brother call you Angel? That seems like such an American English person thing to do. I asked him about that.
Well,
What's your response?
I think it's just, if you're around me long enough, right? Like he's with me all the time. Uh, Everybody calls me Angel. So for him to be the one
Hmm,
that's different, right? At a younger age, right? Because obviously now I'm confident. I couldn't care less what somebody else thought about me pronouncing it, Jamie or Jaime, whatever. But as when you're young, you want to fit in. We didn't have any friends, so I think he kind of got used to it. That's probably why.
got it. Yeah. I prefer Jaime in case anybody wants to know. It's more masculine than Jamie. Somehow my name got hijacked by the female population years ago, so I prefer Jaime. Um, so you were part of the original retail pilot. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, you're rep number 3?
Yeah, it was me, Adam, and Ken Panucci. Yeah, the three of us.
And so walk us through a little bit of that, because now fast forward the clock, it's $150 million a year operation. I mean, it's like, whoa, what a great business we're running here, and it's only getting bigger.
Yeah.
But you were there when it was, slim pickings and the
Yeah.
commissions were small, and okay, here's the stores that we can't seem to do well in. So you guys, have at it. So walk us through some of those early days and how you kind of kept your vision and focus.
Yeah, so I started on Quill and then what really happened, and I think the reason why, the program is, around is that Jesus, like I said, he had a third kid. So when he was getting promoted, when I came in, it was to help him get to assistant management, right? And then he got to assistant management and got, promoted. But for him to run an office, I remember you and Adam were the ones that were number one and number two every week on Quill. There wasn't space for Jesus to open an office on Quill in Atlanta. nor was there room on AT&T Rest. So there wasn't really any campaign for him to run an office in. And he had already tried moving. That didn't work out for the kids. And so they needed to figure something out. So they did a bunch of pilots with a bunch of different companies. And you know, at the time that we start the DirecTV retail one, he was already weeks in or months in into another pilot. None of those worked out. What ended up working out was DirecTV, and we had two stores. It was one in Gainesville, which is probably like an hour and 20 minutes away from where I used to live, and then another one in South Atlanta. That's really far too. So I went to the Gainesville one every day. We didn't do atmosphere, didn't do anything. Campaniche went to the other one. Those were the only two stores we had, and you know, let's just try to figure it out. It was just a lot of figuring out. I remember at first I was just talk too much. You know, trying to be a cool representative. I try to introduce myself to every customer, and it was taking too long. Um, it was fun, but I don't think I would want to do that right now. Uh, I would want to wait until a little further to try to pilot something as a consultant. But it's a lot of trying out things. Like I remember just one day I'm like, fuck, people are not paying attention to me. Like I say the words, but they don't hear them. So I went to the Office Depot that was next door to the Best Buy, and I bought a clipboard, and then I bought a marker, and I got some paper so that when I talk to a customer, I'm like, hey, listen, hey, here's how much you're paying, here's what you're getting, here's who we are, here's what we're gonna charge you, here's how much you're gonna save, fucking, and I would highlight it big, and I'm like, you know what I mean? And that day I did like, I mean, I had like a 5x increase in my number of presentations. So I called Ken Punish. I'm like, fuck, I think I'm onto something. So, you know, he started doing it, our presentation. And it was like a lot of those, right? Like, hey, this worked. Let's try this. This worked. And then Jesus came in, and Jesus was always very beast in the field. And when he came in, he just he took over. Like it just really blew up. And that's when he ends up opening an office here in Atlanta on DirecTV. So he's actually the first retail DirecTV office of the program. And then Adam switched from Quill to DirecTV.
And then slowly but surely we started getting better stores and there was,
Yeah, that's what happened.
but
Yeah.
I mean, they were giving us the stores that just had no action.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I'm still here in Atlanta, so I have the list of stores that we work with every day. And then I have the ones that we don't staff, right? And it's like, yeah, but that's where we started. Like we were just talking this morning, we were talking about because we got some stores, we got a couple of extra stores in Atlanta recently. And somebody asked this morning, what about this one? And we're like, that's a one-story Walmart where the electronics department is all the way on the corner. The manager doesn't like us, but that's where Jesus closed his first DirecTV sale with me. I trained him that day. So yeah, it was definitely the run to the litter.
Mm-hmm. And that app is framed on the wall there in Walmart. It's like, hey, here's the golden ticket. Uh, well, just the last thing I want to just touch up on, we only have a few more minutes. I mean, in your speech, I mean, when you were speaking to your wife and your son, I mean, I don't know if romantic is the right choice of words, but it just sort of seemed like there was nobody else in the room. It was just you talking to your wife. I mean, that must have been a major highlight for her, for you. I mean, just kind of walk us through that moment because it was, I think most of
Yeah,
us got choked up during that
yeah,
time.
you give me goosebumps just thinking about it. Yeah, you know, I had thought about it obviously a lot. What I was gonna say about her and my baby. Um, and to be honest with you, I didn't even know much until we were on the airplane back. Somebody showed me a recording. I was like, I haven't seen it, so I was like, let me wait until I get home to watch it. Um, and the moment it just felt natural because I rehearsed it. You saw me rehearse it the previous day. I was more emotional the previous day. Um, but it was just special. You know, I've wanted to be a dad for my whole life. I just always had a little bit of discipline on when I wanted to do it. I think I just saw a lot of family members and people close by do it without being financially stable, and how hard that is and how little time it leaves you to be with them. And I was like, when I have them, I want to be with my baby a lot, right? With my kids. So so I've always wanted to be a dad, and now that I am, it's just it was just the truth of how I feel. Like what I said is honestly how I feel when I wake up and I see him, and I get him out of the bed, and I get dressed, and then I help feed him if I have time. If I don't, I give him a kiss and my wife, and I tell him I'm gonna go get this bread. Um, it's just my life, right? It was just sharing with the world how I feel about my family, and I'm very happy. I've always wanted to be a family man. I've always wanted to be a dad. I've never been one to, I've had my fun. I've never idolized any of that. And um, what do you call it? I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I've never, I've never really liked that whole successful guy, with 20 women. Like never does that shit cross my mind. I just like I love my wife. I love my son. We'll have more kids. I don't care if Sofia Vergara comes and slides in my DMs. I'm a happy guy. My world is that, and I think that's what my speech was about. Just how I feel every day with them, and in that moment that was so special that I've been looking forward to for years. You know, this is the third time I got close. I got close two previous times, and then shit happened. COVID was one of them, and then previous to that, just some campaign things. It was the third time,
Mm,
so it was definitely something I was looking forward to.
mm.
But yeah, it's the speech when I watched it. I'm glad that it came out okay. I thought I was gonna be more nervous.
Well, it not only came out okay, I mean, it was brilliant. I mean, it was again, I kept thinking like it was romantic. Like you were just so smooth and you looked so calm, and it looked like you didn't see anybody else in the room. You're just talking with your wife. And it was, I don't know, that was just real smooth moment. I really enjoyed that. It was a
Thank
super,
you.
I mean, the conference was great, and obviously, $6.1 million being handed out was awesome because, I saw all the big smiles on people's faces coming on stage. I'm like, man, what an unbelievable conference. What an unbelievable moment. And then you stole the show. It was awesome, Angel.
Thanks.
So we're very lucky to have you in the organization. We thank you for powering through the slow days on retail when, again, it was slow. I mean, I was doing my quill thing at the time watching you guys. I'm like, man, those guys are suffering, over there. And you guys built an amazing business. So thanks for sticking it through. And, again, thank you for being a family man and being a great role model for everybody in the business.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thank you, Angel.
Have a good one.
We'll see you guys.
Take care.